Welcome to the Moved to Meditate podcast. I'm your host, Addie D. Hilster. If you're a yoga practitioner or teacher who knows that there's more to yoga than poses, but you're wondering where to find that, come join our quiet little party. Here you'll find resources to help you deepen your practice, as well as insightful conversations with yoga, movement, and meditation teachers from a range of traditions. On this podcast, we spotlight the more contemplative aspects of movement practice. So we talk about all things gentle yoga, meditation, yin, restorative, yoga therapy, mindfulness, and more. Listen in and connect to a community of like-minded practitioners. Hi everyone. Before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to let you know what I'm working on right now. I'm getting ready to start a new term of live stream classes, and there will be 2 different 6-week series starting the last week of October that will pretty much take us up to the holidays, so it'll be my last set of the year. One is a stretch and strengthen class focused on the upper body, like the neck, shoulders, upper back, and beyond. And this series will also incorporate heart meditations on kindness, compassion, gratitude, and equanimity. Stretch and strengthen classes are kind of my gentle to moderate, therapeutic, active yoga classes. So join us and give that a try. It starts on October 28th. And the other series is a yin yoga and self-massage set of classes where we'll be using some therapy ball massage and some self-applied acupressure to complement the yin yoga poses and really get our chi flowing. And this one starts on October 29th. You can check these out at movedtomeditate.yoga/livestream-classes for more details. And there are 2 ways to sign up. You can just register for the series itself, which is the 6 classes plus the Zoom recording, or you can join my class library at the Library Plus Livestream tier and get access to both of these livestream series, the Stretch and Strengthen and the Yin, and all of my pre-recorded classes. And this is a new offering in the class library, a new tier, a new option. So I'm excited because I think it's a really good deal, and I hope that it will support people to practice and be present more often. So, all right, the details for all of this are at movedtomeditate.yoga/livestream-classes. And if you can't remember that link, just go on movedtomeditate.yoga, my site, and look in the menu for live stream. It'll be pretty clear. So here we go, on to this week's episode. Hello, this is Addie. So today I'm here with you for a solo episode where I'm just going to talk about my definition of Yin Yoga. So we've had a few guests on the podcast so far who are Yin Yoga teachers. There will be more of that to come because it's one of the main styles that I practice in, and I have a lot of friends and teacher friends who really specialize and enjoy Yin Yoga as well. But what's interesting is that sometimes we hear the terms Yin Yoga and it's not always clear what is being described. People tend to use the terms to describe their classes in different ways, and those classes can look kind of different. So it's worth exploring a definition of Yin Yoga. And I certainly don't think that my definition has to speak for everyone, but this is how I think of a Yin Yoga practice and how I train people when I'm leading a Yin Yoga teacher training. And in fact, we're in the middle of one right now, the Foundations Yin Yoga training that I'm leading online. So this was kind of on my mind because we just went over this a few weekends ago, the definition of Yin Yoga. So what is Yin Yoga? You know, when people kind of like corner me at a party or in an elevator and ask me that, I almost want to stammer for a second because it's like if they don't have a context for yoga or you know, any kind of practice, they might be picturing something quite different than what Yin Yoga is. So in those cases, I'll kind of just say, well, it's a really mellow practice and we do kind of gentle stretches on the floor and it's kind of meditative, and I might leave it at that. But in a more technical sense, I'm going to read you my definition that I've kind of crafted over the years, and this is what's in my training manual. And I have to make a really 80s reference right now for those of you who are my age. If you remember the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and that part where Richard Dreyfuss is like sculpting the mashed potato volcano because he's obsessed with Devil's Tower and the aliens and the whole thing, and he can't let it go, and he's like entranced by it at the dinner table. This definition of yin yoga is kind of my mashed potato volcano, okay? It's something that I have crafted and sculpted and thought about for a long time, and that's why it's a little bit dense. So I'm going to break it down for you. But first I'll read it. So yin yoga is a meditative practice in which yoga poses are held for several minutes at a time. Practiced with the muscles disengaged, the gradual stretches of yin yoga allow us to enhance the healing flow of energy, or qi, through the body's connective tissues. Practicing in a yin-like way allows the nervous system to relax its habitual holding, which results in improved flexibility. Embodying yin poses consciously, we cultivate interoceptive awareness, or mindfulness in the body. Woo, okay, there's a lot in there. So let's break that down a little bit. I'd like to start by saying yin yoga is a meditative practice that's done within yoga poses. So because we're holding our poses for several minutes at a time, we're not moving into and out of our poses. We're doing fewer poses over the course of a class. That means that we have time and we have space, and within a pose, we can use that time and space to cultivate meditation and learn mindfulness skills. So that's what we do, and yin yoga is a very meditative practice for this reason. So there's a sense of stillness, there can be a sense of silence or quiet, or a sense of practicing as if we were in a formal meditation, even though we might be in a butterfly pose or a banana pose. So we use the sensations of the body and the breath to bring us back into the present moment, exactly the same way that we would follow the breath in a mindfulness meditation. So that's the first piece. And I mentioned that in yin yoga, the poses are held for several minutes at a time, generally 3 to 5 minutes. Some poses a little less, some poses even more. And it's practiced with the muscles disengaged in general. So it's a more passive stretch, a more passive kind of practice. There are some poses where, like Sphinx pose, for example, where we're on our belly and the elbows are holding us up in a back bend. The shoulders are doing a little bit to support us, like our bones are holding us up. But where we are kind of in the stretch, where we're in the back bend shape through the spine, we're not really engaged there. So we think of it as being more of a passive practice where we can soften into a yoga pose. That allows us to stay for the 3 to 5 minutes that we intend to stay, because if we're having to engage and work really hard, it's kind of difficult to stay and to sustain that for time and to make it a meditation. And this is also why we use props, because sometimes we need help to hold the body in a shape for this length of time. So the props do help make the pose sustainable and allow us to be both passive and to linger for the amount of time that makes it a yin pose. So I think of these as gradual stretches, not so much a deep stretch, not so much maximum intensity, but a kind of stimulation to our tissues that unfolds over an extended length of time. So it's a gradual kind of stretch, kind of gradual way of working with the tissues of the body. Part of what we're doing is not only about this mechanical flexibility in our tissues, but about the movement of qi, the movement of energy, which was the next part of the definition, right? To enhance the healing flow of energy through the body's connective tissues. So that takes time, that takes awareness, that takes breath. And this is where yin yoga also draws on the tools of Chinese medicine and the energy theories of Chinese medicine. This is part of what makes yin yoga unique as far as yoga practices go, because it's a blending of Indian yoga and Taoist principles from Chinese medicine, and often Buddhist meditation techniques. So it's kind of a fusion of different wisdom traditions. So this is also different than restorative yoga, because restorative yoga doesn't tend to include the Chinese medicine perspective and the idea of moving qi through the meridian lines. That is a big part of yin. So when we practice in this yin-like way, coming back to the definition, it says practicing in a yin-like way allows the nervous system to relax its habitual holding, which results in improved flexibility, among other things. But the nervous system, allowing the nervous system to settle and relax, is part of the practice, and it's part of the outcome of the practice of yin yoga, of being still, of attending to the breath, of finding the sweet spot in the pose where the intensity level is just right. It's not overwhelming, but where we can feel some gradual change in the body. This allows us to relax the waist that we habitually hold. This allows us to entrain our nervous system into a place of down regulation and calm, and those factors also affect our flexibility and the way that our nervous system is holding the body and how much it's allowing us to move into these ranges of motion that we might like to move into. So then, this is a lot already, right? The last piece of the definition is embodying yin yoga poses consciously. We cultivate interoceptive awareness or mindfulness in the body. So interoception is our ability to feel the body from the inside out. It's our sense of inner awareness. It includes things like being able to feel when we're hungry or when we're sleepy, or feeling the sense of emotions fluttering in the body. So this is a really important sense, and it's one that we can really pay attention to in yin yoga, again, because we're still, because we have some time to look inward and to really notice what's going on all these different layers of our being. So this is a form of mindfulness practice, again, taking us full circle of the definition to the idea that yin yoga is a meditative practice. It's an embodied meditation. So it's an embodied meditation. It does give us the sense of a gradual stretch for the health of our tissues. And it's a practice based on Chinese medicine and the notion of moving qi through our meridian lines to help harmonize us on an energetic level and nervous system level. So these are some of the main components of yin yoga. And the lineage of yin yoga, as I mentioned, is inclusive of hatha yoga from India, Taoism, and principles from Chinese medicine, and also often meditation practices from the Buddhist mindfulness tradition. So it's a little bit eclectic. I think it does come together in a pretty coherent way, which is pretty remarkable. But this is yin yoga. And I hope this also helps clarify a few things, like that we do use props in yin yoga. That has in the past been a little bit controversial, where people would think we didn't use props, or sometimes the way we talked about using props made it unclear, but that people would affiliate props completely with restorative yoga and differentiate by saying that, oh, well, in yin we don't use props. This is not the case. We do need props in many of the yin poses to support the body to hold for these lengths of time in a sustainable way. So props are very welcome in the yin practice, and I would say very essential in the yin practice. In fact, I made a whole 8-hour on-demand course you can see on my website if you're interested in this, called Yin Yoga Poses Plus Props, and it's all about how to use props in the yin style. Because it's that important to me, and I like to dispel this myth that props are not part of the yin practice. It's more that props are not necessary in all the poses or in the same way for all people, but props are absolutely welcome in yin yoga, and that's not what makes it different than restorative, right? I talked a little bit about what makes it different from restorative. The focus on Chinese medicine is one piece. I think also the meditative focus on mindfulness practice is another piece. But that could be a topic for another podcast. So maybe we'll come back to that on a different day. So I hope this has given you some ideas about what Yin Yoga is, what you could expect in a Yin Yoga class, a slow, mellow, meditative practice, supported stretches, relaxing the nervous system. So if you've never tried it before, I hope you'll come and give it a whirl at some point and try out, see if you enjoy Yin Yoga. And if you've been wondering what this is all about, I hope this helps clarify things for you a little bit. So thank you so much for listening, as always, and feel free to send me feedback or questions or topics for future episodes. Let me know what you're wondering about, and I'll see if I can cover it or bring someone in who can clarify things for you. Okay, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. So that's today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, please share it with a friend and or leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and help others find us that way. To learn more about my work, the Moved to Meditate class library, live online classes, teacher trainings, and private lessons, go to movedtomeditate.yoga. Thanks so much for listening.